Welcome to the Life of Hair. My name's James Atkinson. Thank you for choosing to join into this week's episode. Now, in this week's episode, we're going to be looking at some balayage techniques. Having not really watched much of this video, I like to watch it with you as much as possible, give my opinions, thoughts and feelings on some of the techniques we're going to see today. So if you like this type of content, please let me know down in the comment section. It's always good to hear from you guys, and hit that thumbs up button because that always helps these videos get to a wider audience. And that's your kind of way of patting me on the back and supporting the channel, and I much appreciate that. Most definitely. Now, today's video is all about balayages and lived-in blonde techniques. And this compilation video, was made by Peach's Makeup channel. I haven't seen many of their videos. I was just looking for a balayage compilation. They've obviously taken this footage from other Instagram and TikTok videos, so I'm not entirely sure who these people are, but they've done some spectacular work for the couple of clips that I've seen. So let's jump into today's episode. Got a blonde going on. They are using Kenra bleach here. Fairly chunky weave, medium stitch, on the high end of a medium stitch in my book. Semi-decent application, being very careful not to touch those existing blonde ends, which is good. Let's see how much product they actually apply, because that's one of the big things that we always see from a good lift. Working on a very light base though, okay, so you can be a little bit more, let's say, stingy with the product application, because we know when we're working on lighter bases, we're likely to get better application. We just saw there on the screen actually quite a chunky colour right up to the root there, quite blocky, but using a root shadow technique to diffuse that, and you can see in this end result, looks absolutely beautiful in its end result, but definitely needed that root shadow. If we just go back, we can see here that there's quite a lot of heavy colour at the root. Now that won't look very seamless unless you do a root shadow, and there's nothing wrong with that, okay? Sometimes I see people and people talk about colour to me, and they want everything to be seamless every step of the way. Sometimes we have to do chunkier colour techniques to get the amount of blonde we need into hair and then make it more seamless afterwards. And that's something that I think is overlooked quite a lot of the time in terms of these particular techniques. These root shadow techniques become imperative to get the seamless results that we see at the end of the video. And as you can see, when we look right into the root area here, it's very, very diffused, very soft. Obviously not bang on the root, but that's not necessarily what they were going for. And that's not necessarily good, bad, or indifferent. It's just different, right? So providing we've talked to our client prior to doing their hair, and this is what we're going to create, softer regrowth, things like that, then, you know, going in with these techniques that are a little heavier is okay. Got a bit more depth to work with this time, some previously pre-colored hair there by the looks of it. Going in with a very tight one around the face, money piece type of shenanigans. Freehand balayage with some teasing. Good to see some freehand balayage these days. Everybody's doing foliage or some type of foil work. Still incubating in it a foil, to be honest. So is it a balayage? It's hard. I mean, look, the rules have become, not the rules, but the techniques have all become intermingled, right? But this is a balayage-esque look because it's lived in. There's contrast in between the sections. You can see they've used diagonal backwards formation there to create that kind of softer transition to the back. Root stretch application applied, and then obviously very happy with the end result. So definitely ecstatic. But, you know, very nice diffusion at the root, but again, using those techniques where they're creating that blend by using root stretches, and that's the case in a lot of these techniques these days. Again, going in using freehand techniques, and I love freehand techniques, but you won't get the levels of lightness that a lot of people expect from a freehand technique like this. So that's why you see a lot of people saturating the hair, then covering it with a foil to extend that incubation, right? That's one of the really important things that we need to remember here, is that you are only going to get 2 to 3 levels of lift from a balayage if you're not putting it into a foil to incubate the heat, right? And incubate is not exactly right. It's actually preventing it from drying out. But incubate is a word that a lot of people use and a lot of people understand. But in reality, it's about not letting it dry out. Beautiful end result. Mixture of freehand techniques there and some teasy balayage business. And a great caramel result. And I really like that finished result too. Okay, what we got here then? A very, very warm, very blocky. You can see right here at the front. Very, very blocky piece at the front. balayage, or previous balayage maybe, I don't know. Going in with a decent chop, getting off a lot of that hair, and you know, coming in, making decisions from the book. Interesting. I never show the clients the color book. Even if they specifically request it, I try and avoid that. You know, it can give like false expectations of what the client's going to get from their visit to you. It didn't show the whole video. I haven't cut any of it out, but I think obviously it's just some kind of toning technique. They've darkened the roots slightly and they've reduced the contrast on these ends, as you can see here, made it, you know, a little bit softer. That will reduce the demarcation within the hair slightly, and that's what will give it a slightly softer look overall. So a reverse balayage is what they've gone in with there. More Kenra product. Highlights again, obviously, you know, using highlights is a great way of creating extra lift, extra lightness, especially if you want very, very blonde lived-in effects. Interesting where she put two foil, one foil on top of another there, and then folded the edge. Lots of product coming up there, you know, lots of use of foil, lots of products on the hair. Really like the amount of saturation. Lifted it to a very, very, very light level there, and obviously coming in, root shadow again. Lots of root shadows being used on lots of Instagram and YouTube videos these days to soften and diffuse heavier highlighting techniques that create this, what we see here. This is what I was explaining earlier, and I'm not in any way being negative about it. If you want to create these solid pieces of lightness within the hair, it's very, very important that we get that separation and dimension within the sections that we take. So the weaves have got to be chunky, they've got to be far apart. That's going to give you a very chunky, very kind of 90s effect, yeah? And then obviously that level, that darkness, that contrast is what's going to give it that kind of lived-in effect. So it's really important that you leave bigger gaps in between, but maybe do chunkier techniques, and that's something that some people struggle to get their head around. Obviously a bit of a face frame money piece technique going on at the front, and then a root color here, a root shadow to soften that root area, but haven't actually completely melted it away, which is a good option, especially if you want to do something. Let's say you're going to have level 10 ends like this. You could use a level 8 at the root. You'll still be able to see the highlights. They'll just be much, much softer, which is also a very nice way of kind of creating more longevity and a more lived-in, beautiful effect. I think this, again, you know, when you see these techniques, well, this is another thing that I've talked about a lot. If you're going to go over previously pre-lightened ends, you've got to be careful not to keep overlapping. You've got to be mindful of those previously lightened ends. If you're going to lighten previously lightened ends, a lot of the manufacturers, when you go to their classes, will only recommend leaving it on for a maximum of 20 minutes onto previously pre-lightened ends. Random toner applications in all of these videos, I just put it on like shampoo. I'm not sure that's exactly the best way to put a toner on in terms of even saturation, color deposition. They come out nicely, but you're using a lot more product probably. Well, in my own personal opinion, when you apply it like that very haphazardly to the hair, you're using a lot more color. And you can waste colour in the basin, etc, etc. Whereas if you're more accurate and using a comb to comb it through, yes, it takes a little bit more time, but you're not necessarily wasting the product. It depends on how much you're charging. If you're charging a lot of money for these services and the colour price is kind of irrelevant, then obviously, yeah, go for gold, put it on the basin like crazy, do what you like. Like we saw in last week's episode, where the colour applications are very like, you know, chuck the colour on and go crazy. Obviously, brilliant result, right? Can't knock the result. Looks beautiful. She's obviously very, very happy with it. But when you're talking about these particular techniques and the application of these techniques, I think sometimes we've got used to seeing this kind of Instagram ready, like chuck it on from the bowl or squirt it on from across the room. It's very showy, and that's becoming a technique. It's becoming a way of applying things. Young people are seeing this and they're like, oh yeah, well that's how you put a toner on, from across the room with a bottle. And I don't necessarily agree with that too much. Heavy, chunky highlighting techniques going on here. Lots and lots of saturation needed when you're using these chunkier techniques to make sure that you get the product through those sections. Okay, you need to use side to side brushing techniques. They've lifted it very clean, very beautiful. At least they may be applying it with a bottle, not adverse to applying it with a bottle, but at least they pre-sectioned it a little bit there to make sure you get that color through the hair. But again, slightly darker at the root area there. You can just see like a slightly deeper tone towards the root, and then it's coming into something slightly lighter. Actually, now it's dry. No, that's just one toner all over. Nice result. Even though those highlights are a bit chunky, they've obviously gone a little finer through the parting. They are quite heavy at the parting area there, you could see. So it depends on your preference. A lot of people don't like that kind of streaky look from the root, which is very, very important. If you acknowledge that with your client and the client's up for it, great. Obviously, it's all personal preference. This is an art form, so we've got to be mindful that not everything we see is to our taste. We've got beige colour going on the hair. I like beige, by the way, for all of you that, you know, I hate the idea of putting beige on people's hair. Beige is a mixture of cool and warm. Beige is mostly gold with some violet, and that's what cools it down, so you don't have that very, very strong gold look in the hair. So that's really, really nice to create that beige effect, and that is what beige is, right? A lot of people are scared of the idea of it being beige. When it's on a level 9 and 10, you don't really see that warmth. It's like more Californian blonde. It's what we were talking about in previous videos when we saw lots and lots of colors being put on toner wise over one person's head. They're using those colors to create multi-tonal warmth within the hair, for example, right? But it's also on the cool spectrum because it's up at a 10. They've lifted it very light. So you're going to get that kind of Californian or maybe kind of more Hollywood goldenish blonde, dependent on your lift. If your lift's on a 9, you're definitely going to see gold. If your lift's on a 10 and you're using a 10, you're not really going to see the gold. It's just going to be clean like this is. So I think the lesson from today's episode, guys, is that obviously heavy, chunky highlighting techniques can create great lived-in blonde effects. You can utilize freehand techniques with them. I use quite a lot of chunky highlighting techniques myself these days because people are looking for that kind of slightly blonder, more high impact look, and this is definitely going to give you that. These techniques definitely going to give you that kind of, but you will have to deal with root stretches, root shadows, root smudges, or toning down the root area in some way, whichever one of those techniques you choose to diffuse. You can see here, you know, needing to diffuse out the root area a little bit on this one, just to create a little bit of softness, because the pieces within the hair are quite chunky. And so as we've transitioned from freehand techniques, freehand balayages, where the techniques are very chunky but on a very small amount of the hair because of the depth of the sections and just painting the surface, generally speaking, we're needing to now kind of transition the two techniques. Highlights have come back a bit. Balayages are becoming more high impact and more kind of that lived in blonde effect. And so therefore the root shadows and the techniques of that nature are having to become of paramount importance to get the results that we want to achieve.